Well, we're back in the studio, and I have with me three gentlemen from the PNC Bank. Mr. Dan Wilkinson.
Pleasure to be back.
Mr. John
Good morning.
Lockhart, and Max Barger. Gentlemen, welcome. We only have about 10 minutes, but I do have a question for the three of you, and we'll take it from there. I have just inherited some money, X number of dollars, and I come to the three of you and I say, how can I manage this newfound wealth? So you take it from there.
Certainly there are a plethora of questions we can ask you, but I think this is a good segue into what we came in here to promote, which is a seminar that we're having on April 6th here at Village Square in the Aquatink room to address certain matters just like this. So John Lockhart and Max Barger, they are advisors on our wealth management team. I work very closely with them. John is a senior investment advisor and Max is a senior wealth strategist. So they each have very distinct functions when we're dealing with clients that do have a sizable amount of assets.
Well, this is very important. You said April 6th.
April 6th.
What time?
Sure. It's going to be from 1 to 3 in the Aquatink room, which is right downstairs here in Village Square.
So we're going to pass it on one more time to our residents. PNC, three strategists will be here April 6th from 1 until 3 in the Aquatink room. Be there.
And we'll have refreshments and cookies and coffee, so it should be a great time.
So within your seminar, and I'll call it that,
Sure.
will you be telling me what I can do with my newfound wealth, what investments I should make, and various questions like this?
Absolutely. John, I think that
John?
is
Tee me up is a great question. Being a senior investment advisor, one of the things that I want to address in the seminar next week is rising interest rates. I think that's something that we're really beginning to see. We're up about 1% in the last 9 months in terms of interest rates. And so we want to talk about something called duration, which duration is the sensitivity of principal on your bonds to rising interest rates. And we'll talk about examples. We'll talk about how rising interest rates negatively affect the principal on your bonds. And every bond that is out there in circulation has a duration.
Max, if the interest rate goes up 1%, how does this really specifically affect Bob and this newfound wealth? What would you tell me to do with my money?
Well, the first thing I'm going to do is not tell you what to do with your money. I'm going to ask you what your plans are. What are your goals? Because when we're working with a client, the most important part is what are your objectives? How does it affect your taxes? How does it affect your legacy, your estate planning? How does it affect your retirement? What is it you want to do with those assets? What's your risk tolerance? What's your appetite to expose yourself to risk? And so working together with John, we'll walk through that process with the client and figure out what to do first before we make the investments.
Would you gentlemen advise that I buy some tax-free bonds?
Depending on
Like
your tax rate. It depends on your tax rate, and of course we will get into this discussion in depth next week, but
So right now we're going to give them a little taste.
just a little taste. But every bond has a duration. Every bond portfolio, because you have mutual funds, you have index funds. We'll talk about all of the bond options that you have to buy in terms of how duration impacts those as interest rates go up.
Well, John, I think every resident would probably ask the three of you, I want to have a worry-free future. And I just got this money. It was $500,000, whatever it is. And so here, you would probably at this seminar tell me what I should invest in to give me this worry-free income that's plus the fact that I wouldn't have to be paying exorbitant amounts of taxes on this income that I have.
What I would say is how we approach any client, it's really not a one-size-fits-all scenario. It's a very intimate process of getting to know exactly what the goals, objectives, needs, and priorities are of each client, and really making sure that our process, our team is really putting the best resources in front of you to achieve those goals.
So that's the way we're going to go. So this seminar that you all are planning and will have is very, very important. I hope we fill up that Acatech room next week.
Well, you know, I think it seats about 35 right now, and they're going pretty quickly. So please go to your PNC branch here at Hunter's Crossing or Town Center and talk to some of the lovely ladies that work behind the desk and let them know that you are very interested in coming out. We'd love to have you.
This leads me to another question, and that is, you gentlemen are in the main office somewheres, and I want to have a specific discussion with one of the three of you. Do I go to one of your local PNC and talk to the manager and say, I'd like to talk to John or Max or Daniel? Is that the...
Yeah, that's exactly what the process is. You would go to one of the branches, and they would put you in touch with me, and I would bring in John and Max as needed, depending on what the discussion might surround.
Where is your office, your main office?
We're located in McLean, Virginia.
McLean, okay. So it's a matter of 3/4 of an hour or so you'll be over here.
If that, you know, depending on traffic.
Would you recommend staying within the PNC family on your investments, or do you also say, well, hey, Bob, go out and buy some of this and buy some of that too?
John, I'll let you take the reins on this one.
That's directed to me. We do stay within a very structured PNC investment blessed portfolio options.
That's what I want to know.
So yes, we have a number of analysts, a number of research people that are working behind me in Philadelphia that will do all the research on the funds that we manage in. And then we look very carefully at the bond quality that we buy. For example, we want to buy investment grade, in other words, BBB or better bonds for our bond portfolios. So this is talking about structure, diversification, making sure that the quality is good. And I have a number of analysts that I work with to make sure that my portfolios are well diversified, good quality, and most importantly that the duration is low so that we can keep principal from dropping too much as interest rates slowly rise in the coming months and years.
What would you recommend that I invest in within the PNC family?
You know, if I can answer that, I'm going to say, again, it's not about recommending something in a vacuum. It's about what are you trying to accomplish. And that's what the biggest goal is to figure out what are your independent goals. What are your goals are not the same as your neighbors. When it comes to your tax bill's not the same. Your legacy, your family, your charitable donations are not the same. Even the way that you spend money is not the same. So the way you're going to invest is going to be very different than the person you live right next door to.
Right.
And what I'll help take a look at are mistakes, common mistakes that people make when they're working through that strategy. So for example, with estate planning, a lot of people have a time bomb sitting in their estate planning documents because they haven't reviewed them. They haven't reviewed them since, let's say, before 2012. And as a result, they have a big capital gains problem for their beneficiaries waiting to happen if they haven't done that. So we're going to go through some of those common mistakes.
Great. So we won't pursue that any further. We'll save that for April 6th between 1 and 3 at the Acatech room.
We're going to tease them right now.
Right. Gentlemen, we're down to about 2 more minutes. Do we have any kind of last-minute words that you want to pass on to our viewer?
I might just let John and Max brag about their experience. Certainly John is probably one of our most distinguished members of the PNC family. He's worked with us for, close to
Well, 37 years in the business now.
37 years.
Starting right out of college. And so I've seen what high interest rates did 37 years ago to bond portfolios, and this is why we need to be very cautious about rising interest rates in the coming months and years. This is really the first time in 35 years that this is an issue going forward. So each portfolio is different. You can't just put a general solution. We would need to review every portfolio. Every portfolio has different duration risk in it. And it'll be my pleasure to really talk about this so that I can get everyone here to understand something about interest rate risk, because bonds actually can be risky.
Yeah.
So that's something we want to talk about, have everybody understand what that risk is going forward.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure Max agrees.
Absolutely.
Gentlemen, I'm sorry, but we're out of time. Daniel, John, Max, thank you ever so much. We will see you April 6th, 1 to 3, Hackensack Room. The three of you will be there.
Absolutely.
We'll look forward to it. And thank you ever so much for coming on the show.
It's our pleasure as always, Bob. Thank you.
My pleasure.